I just skip all that and go right for the crotch. What's a really awkward situation that everyone can relate with? When you start to tell a story in a group but in the middle of a sentence realize that no one is actually listening and ever so slowly you get quiet and hope no one notices. When they don't realize that you were getting quiet, at first you think good, nobody noticed, but seconds later you start to feel bad that nobody was really paying attention to you. Not even hearing that you were making noises, and that feels awful. When you've had multiple interactions with someone but you can't remember their name, but it's gone too far to admit you've forgotten it, so you just have to call them love or mate forever. I have a trick for this. Start being more loving to them, eventually getting into a relationship. As this moves further, propose and they'll say yes, and then when you're getting married, wait till the pastor turns and says, "And will you person's name, marry your name," and boom, you now know their name. What if we're having sex and she tells me to say her name? No, 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 you misunderstand. This is why sex comes after marriage. Standing there while two people talk about something you don't know about. Even worse when you're wanting to leave the conversation but feel like you need to have an excuse to leave. Also standing there while people talk about something you do know about but you don't really get a chance to get involved. You have things you want to share but you're not sure if you should or could. More awkward if they are talking about something you know very well and they are saying almost everything wrong but you don't know if you should correct them. When you try to contribute to a conversation and someone cuts you off multiple times. And you patiently wait for your turn to speak, even though it already was, but by the time the air is clear, the subject has already changed and what you were going to say is now irrelevant. I used to be a habitual cutter offer when I was younger. I wasn't trying to be rude, I was just excited for what I had to say. I've reformed that behavior now, but if I notice this happening to someone else, I'll make sure to call attention to the person trying to talk. "What was that, John?" or something along those lines to make sure everyone is heard. When you're having a conversation with someone and you don't hear what they say, so you ask them to repeat and they do. But you still don't hear it and ask them to repeat again and they do. And you still don't know what they said. Do you ask them to repeat again, and maybe still not hear it? Pretend you heard it and nod your head and hope it's an appropriate response. Stab yourself in the eye with a pen to create a diversion and change the subject. Just laugh, say yeah and hope they didn't just tell you their dad just died. When you're walking past a coworker and you've already said hello earlier. Everyone's making that weird flat smile. That walk down a long hallway toward each other where you've clearly seen the other person, but they're too far away to say something. So you do the awkward look around until you get close enough to say hey and keep walking. When you're finishing up at the checkout and the cashier puts the notes on top of the receipt and then coins on top of that. Then the next person steps up and you're fumbling, trying to disassemble the stack in your hand, gather your shopping, say thanks and move away at the same time. In the UK it's extra sucky because you bag your groceries yourself. If you aren't quick enough you have to do all of what you mentioned as well as quickly finish the packing while everyone stares at you waiting for you to hurry. That awkward moment where you and somebody else try to let each other speak, but you both try to speak at the same time and just keep failing. That would be a Skype or Teams moment. It's happened to us countless times. Especially since we're all now working from home. Being at a friend's house as a kid and the friend's mother starts yelling at your friend. Being at a friend's house as a kid and the friend's father walks in only wearing underwear. The opposite as well, having a friend over and your parents to this. Saying hello or how are you to somebody and getting 100% ignored. Worse when someone else you know is there too and notices you getting ignored. That's when I just say good talk. Helps me feel like I save face just a bit. When you think someone waves at you so you wave back, but they were waving at someone behind you. Not long ago at church we were asked to turn and greet people. I turned around and the guy said hi to me and stuck his hand out to shake. I went for it and realized he was talking to the woman beside me. She and I both ended up with a hand in his hand at the same time trying to shake it. They both looked at me and I quickly turned around and pretended it didn't happen, which made it more awkward. And then the rest of the service I couldn't stop laughing about it. This is standard for me. When you walk out of the store empty-handed, feeling like you've just stolen something. It's worse if you make eye contact with the cashier or worse, the security guy. And you went in the store with a bag from another one, you know it and I know it. You should go to jail. When you reply to a stranger who says hello, but then realize they were on the phone and not speaking to you. Happened to me just yesterday and I didn't get any sleep last night as I couldn't stop reliving the moment. AirPods have made this one so much more common. It's really annoying, especially if you work in retail. I used to go to college with a girl who got the same train home as me, and we would always walk to the train station together chatting. But as soon as we sat down on the train she would call one of her friends without warning and start talking to them on hands-free, so I always every single time thought she was talking to me and I'd reply and she'd ignore me. Cringe every day. When you're saying goodbye to someone, and then you both end up walking in the same direction. Or when you turn and walk into a wall with people watching. Also when you realize you've forgotten something and need to turn around, but you don't want to just turn around abruptly because that would make you look insane. So you do a little performance where you get your phone out, pretend to check a message, sort of mime aha. And then turn around. Or cross the street and then turn around to throw any observers off the scent. When you're walking and almost trip for no reason and look back at the invisible stick that you tripped on. When you go for a hug but the other person goes for a handshake, you start with a handshake, but do a weird hug at the same time with your hands in each other's crotches. I just skip all that and go right for the crotch. Start sucking to assert dominance. The fake smile on your face when you receive a terrible gift. Oh cool. Another mug. I've been after some more of these. Oh and look, it's got minions on it. Thanks Auntie Karen. Watching a sex scene with your parents. Visited my aunt and uncle 7 years ago and we were hanging out watching TV. My uncle clicks through channels and stops on Harold and Kumar escape from Guantanamo Bay. Within minutes it's the shaved pussy party scene. My aunt and uncle sit there in silence watching, not saying anything until the scene is over while I sweat bullets. If you put an acorn between my butt cheeks I could have cracked it. A few months ago I visited again. Uncle flips through channels. It's Starship Troopers. Within minutes it's a sex scene and the boobies are out. I'm not visiting anymore. When you're walking behind someone that has a slightly slower pace than you start to pass them, but then have that awkward moment when you're walking next to them before you cut in front of them. Worse is when it's also a narrow corridor, and you can see people coming towards you from ahead. And you are trying to do math to figure out if you'll be able to overtake the slow walker without running into those people like a car. Like and subscribe. For more r/ask Reddit videos.